All right. I'm David Feldman. If I were a normal human being, I'd be taking the week off. But instead, this is the mop up for April 7th, 2023. Robert Kennedy Jr. is running for president, and CBS News is reporting that he made the decision after receiving encouragement from Steve Bannon to run. If only Joseph Kennedy Sr. were alive to see his grandson in bed with a white supremacist Nazi sympathizer, he'd be so proud of him. Bobby Jr., one of America's leading anti-vaxxers, will be running with his new slogan, "Make Polio Great Again." Anyone who meets Bobby is struck by how much he reminds them of his father, except, of course, for the batshit crazy ideas about COVID vaccines. Prince Harry and Meghan said they will make an announcement soon regarding their travel plans for King Charles's coronation. Harry prefers Hawaii, while Meghan wants Fiji. There is still the possibility the couple will attend the coronation if they can get assurances that Camilla won't try again to make a coat out of their Dalmatians. Meanwhile, critics of Harry and Meghan accuse them of crudely cashing in on their connection to the royal family, which has been crudely cashing in on Africa, Asia, East India, and the Caribbean for centuries. King Charles on Wednesday commissioned a study that will investigate the link between the royal family and the slave trade. You mean beyond creating it? What other link is there? Kid Rock says he's boycotting Anheuser-Busch after the beer maker signed a promotional deal with transsexual influencer Dylan Mulvaney. Mulvaney recently transitioned from male to female, while Kid Rock is transitioning from fascist to full-bore Nazi. Too bad Will Smith didn't punch this rock instead. I don't think anybody would have been upset. To protest the company doing business with a transgender woman, Kid Rock released a new video of him wearing a MAGA hat, firing an assault rifle at a case of Bud Lights while screaming "F Anheuser-Busch" at the top of his lungs over the din of gunshots and cans of beer exploding. So basically, it sounds just like all his other albums. Bud Light is less filling, and less filling is also how concert promoters described Kid Rock's concert sales compared to 20 years ago. Less filling. Tuesday, Donald J. Trump became only the second president in American history to get arrested. The first was President Grant, who was arrested for speeding. Trump has never been arrested for speeding since his Adderall is prescribed legally. Marjorie Taylor Greene showed up outside the arraignment Tuesday to show support for the embattled Trump. Marjorie is a strong proponent of loyalty and fidelity in politics, not so much when it comes to marriage. Marjorie's assistant is seen here handing Marjorie a bullhorn for her bullshit. Later, the self-avowed xenophobic white Christian nationalist paid a visit to New York Harbor so she could blow out the Statue of Liberty's torch. Then Marjorie was off to the theater after she scored last-minute tickets to heckle Hamilton. Marjorie later told friends that on her next visit, she wants to try this new restaurant every New Yorker suggested whenever she asked complete strangers on the street to recommend a place to eat. Apparently, it's a little bistro called Your Mother's Ass. Every time Marjorie walked up to New Yorkers and said, "Can you recommend a place to eat?" New Yorkers said, "Yeah, try your mother's ass." Yesterday, Marjorie appeared on Fox News to complain that New York City, this is true, she appeared on Fox News, Tucker Carlson, she appeared on Fox News to complain that New York City smelled like crap. She's right. It did smell like crap, but then Marjorie flew back to Georgia, and now it smells perfectly fine again. And plastic surgeons broke the news to 60 Minutes correspondent Lesley Stahl that after Sunday's interview with Marjorie Taylor Greene, there's absolutely nothing they can do. Her face is now permanently stuck this way. During Tuesday's arraignment, Donald Trump was remarkably quiet, uttering but 10 words, all directed at the judge. Those 10 words were yes, no, as well as your wife and daughter are twos at best. Meanwhile, the legal profession considers Trump's attorneys a veritable who's who of who will do anything for publicity. Trump said he wanted the top legal minds, ordering his aides, find me the best attorneys on the planet. I don't care how much I must end up not paying them. One of the difficulties in this case is Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg says Trump falsified business records, which is a misdemeanor, but he says it's a felony because Trump was falsifying the records to cover up a larger crime. The problem is Bragg won't say what that larger crime is and insists he doesn't have to spell it out. I was hoping a trial involving hush money to a porn star would be exciting. Now it's starting to look drier than Stormy Daniels the night she had sex with Trump. This thing isn't ending because it's Trump. This trial, like the 2024 presidential election, is going to drag on way into 2025 and then some. Security downtown was incredibly tight for fear of another January 6. Right outside the courthouse, in case of a medical emergency, the Secret Service insisted there be an ambulance, or as Trump's attorney Joe Tacopina called that, a pace car. He's an ambulance chaser, so the ambulance would be his pace car. In all fairness, Joe Tacopina would be a terrific lawyer if he'd stop handing out his phone number to anyone over the age of 70 and saying, call me, elder abuse is one of my specialties. Look at Trump's face. All right. As the judge reads out the 34 counts Donald Trump has been charged with, his attorney, Joe Tacopina, proves himself a stickler for getting his dinner order just right. Got to fill that out correctly. Yes, sir. Donald Trump serenely pretends it's not him, while his attorney, Joe Tacopina, orders Clifford, his paralegal, to bring the former president a fresh pair of slacks. The judge instructed Trump that until this trial is over, he must refrain from making statements that incite violence. Trump's attorney asked, then how does he become president again? Before taking off for his return to Palm Beach, Trump's jet sat on the runway for nearly 6 hours as the ground crew tried desperately to de-ice Melania. During takeoff, Trump's jet had difficulty reaching cruising altitude since it was filled with toilet paper rolls, soap, towels, legal pads, stenography machines, Bibles, benches, and witness stands he and his legal team stole from the Manhattan courthouse. On the flight home, Trump, just to be on the safe side, ordered his pilot to go back in time so he could convince the guy designing Rikers Island to make sure each jail cell was equipped with a gold-plated toilet and a tanning bed. The pilot took a circuitous route to Florida so Trump could break into the Oval Office, sit behind Joe Biden's desk, and refuse to leave until someone gave him 2 scoops of vanilla ice cream with chocolate sprinkles. Meanwhile, during the press conference outlining his indictment, Manhattan's district attorney knows to call on Larry last. You always call on Larry last because it's always going to be the same exact question, which is, hey, Alvin, how your brothers Theodore and Simon doing? Give my best to your human adoptive father, Dave Seville. Every time Alvin Bragg calls on Larry, Larry asks Alvin how his brothers Theodore and Simon are doing, and then says, give my best to your human adoptive father, Dave Seville. Yes. Spotting someone exiting the Portasan during his welcome home rally, Donald Trump wonders if he can make it there in time. He's always got to drop one. Later that night, inside Mar-a-Lago, Trump delivered a speech in front of supporters, which included Arizona Kari Lake, Roger Stone, Matt Gaetz, and anyone else who's shopping around for a pardon these days. Melania was noticeably absent. In all fairness, the speech took place inside the same ballroom she married Donald in, so it obviously brings back such horrible memories. This is absolutely true. Waiting for the president to take the stage, Mar-a-Lago speakers blasted David Bowie's Rebel Rebel. They blasted David Bowie's Rebel Rebel as Trump's crowd of intolerant, homophobic bigots rocked out to the beats of a cross-dressing, androgynous bisexual. It's true. Absolutely true. This is also true. MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell made his grand entrance to the theme from Phantom of the Opera. Phantom of the Opera is Mike Lindell's favorite musical because it's the only play he's ever seen. Normally verbose, Lindell was laid back and just waved to the crowd with, how you doing? Great to see you again. And boy, do I miss smoking crack. Lindell is said to be completely broke and has told Trump he's worried he might not have enough money next year when Trump needs someone to prove 2024 was also stolen. Completely broke. Meanwhile, the Trump campaign is raking in big dough on all that merch. Even though the NYPD never took Trump's mugshot, his supporters are still spending $47 on a T-shirt featuring a fake mugshot of Trump standing in front of a measuring chart that makes him appear 6'5" instead of 6'3". But according to Stormy Daniels, it's not Trump's height that could use the extra 2 inches. Trump's campaign says it raised $10 million immediately after he was indicted. There's your Trump base for you, right? People who can't come up with $200 for a medical emergency because they think Trump needs it more than they do. It would be sad if these cretins weren't getting us all killed. This is also true. Later that night at Mar-a-Lago, President Trump DJ'd a private party working under the name Pee on Me Diddy. This is true. He likes to DJ parties at Mar-a-Lago. And when the room gets going, he shouts, I got 2 turntables and a micro penis. Donald Trump has his own unique style. Instead of scratching the records, he falsifies them. Don Jr., later that night, joined him in the DJ booth to work the needle straight into his arm. He worked the needle straight into his arm. Well, after a busy day, the former president can't get a good night's sleep at Mar-a-Lago unless before heading upstairs, he pops his head into the kitchen and shouts the C word at the top of his lungs. So, what are we looking at in terms of time? When does this trial end? Trump will not be in court again for this case for months, at least for these charges. But later in April, he's got the defamation suit filed by writer E. Jean Carroll, one of the 40 women who claimed he raped them. There's the civil trial filed by the Attorney General of New York, accusing Trump of defrauding the government and banks, like there's any difference between the two. Then he could be indicted by the Fulton County, Georgia District Attorney for election interference. And there's the investigation of stolen classified documents, as well as instigating an insurrection on January 6. And that's just the start. At 76, Trump may never go to prison, but he's going to be spending the rest of his life in court. Trump's going to be raising his right arm so many times, he might as well be a Nazi. Trial after trial after trial. Trump is going to be hearing the words, "Please rise," more often than Ted Nugent's penis. And on the Manhattan DA case, there are now reports Trump's lawyers will go before the judge again in August, which is also when the first Republican presidential debates are scheduled. This picture is from the 2016 Republican debates when, right after Dr. Ben Carson took the stage, the candidates instinctively checked to see if their wallets were still there, including Dr. Ben Carson. Even Dr. Ben Carson checked to see if his wallet was still there after he took the stage. That's how racist the GOP. This year's GOP, that's how racist the GOP party is. This year's GOP presidential debates are going to be fun, aren't they? You'll have Asa Hutchinson, Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, and Donald Trump all competing to see who can call Donald Trump the greatest president America ever had. It's going to be a profile in courage, those debates. Asa Hutchinson, the former governor of Arkansas, announced that he will seek the Republican nomination for president. Here he is during his scheduled press conference, making the big announcement, shouting at passerbys, "I'm running for president. Are you a reporter? Is anyone here a reporter? Can you at least pretend to be a reporter?" Republican nominee Asa Hutchinson was disappointed when a representative from the Trump campaign said he regretted to inform him that Mr. Trump cannot be bothered to come up with a degrading nickname for him. That's humiliating when Trump doesn't even bother to come up with a nickname for you. Ron DeSantis, sinking fast in the polls, try to jumpstart his campaign by starting his speech with the Spice Girls. "Stop right now, thank you very much. I need someone with a human touch." I don't think it worked for him. The dance moves were not particularly good. Trump is back on the campaign trail next week. Right now, he's focusing on his golf. And as you can tell from this picture, Trump always insists that his irons have a more screwed up head of hair than he does. Next week, Trump speaks at the National Rifle Association's annual convention in Indianapolis on the 14th of April, which, judging by my calendar, is 40 mass shootings from today. I'm David Feldman, and this has been the mop-up for April 7th, 2023. Please like this. Please share it. The only reason you're listening to this or watching this right now is because someone copied and pasted the link to an episode and shared it with you. Nobody's helping me. Sam Cedar, but nobody else is helping me. So the only way we can grow this show is if you're kind enough to copy and paste the link to this episode and share it via email or social media. Leave a comment. I read all your comments, and I can't respond to everyone, but I do hit the heart button to let you know that I read it. Even if I don't agree with you, I'll hit the heart button. And come to office hours. I make myself available to all the listeners every Friday night from 8 till about 9:30. Office hours, and we're doing a special Office Hours Presents. It's an evening of comedy and conversation. You're all invited. In fact, wherever you're listening or watching, wherever you're listening to or watching this episode, the Zoom link is in the description. You can also find it over at my website. Just hit the Office Hours menu. Will take you straight to the landing page. All you need is Zoom, and you don't even need Zoom. The link includes phone numbers, and it's an evening of comedy and conversation where I talk to the listeners talk to me, and we have some special guests. Comedy writer Colleen Worthman from The Daily Show, the Mark Twain Prize. She writes for Michael Moore and Steve Martin. She's going to be there with Liam McEnany, the original guest host, co-host of Office Hours, great comedian. And then we're going to have a conversation with Professor Adnan Hussein and the Reverend Barry W. Lynn. It's about 90 minutes of fun, and Pastor Jonathan will be there. We're going to record a quick episode for my podcast, so if you'd like to watch us record, the link, come by. It's all you need is the link. You just need a phone or Zoom. So I'd love to see you, love to hear what's on your mind. I think that covers everything. I'm David Feldman, reminding you to stay strong and protect the weak.